Hi, I'm Ruggero from One Foot in the Door, and I received a very interesting question from Luck and Boon from India. So thank you very much, Luck and Boon. This is a great question, and I think a lot of people will find it interesting. So let's dive right in. Luck and Boon writes, I am your loyal subscriber from India. Thank you very much. I have a lot of queries. Please reply. It will only take a few minutes. No problem. This is very interesting. 1. Can a hardworking guy become a great actor like respected Brando, Pacino, De Niro, and many more without drama class because I can't afford? 2. If yes, please tell me all the method. 3. How can I master all the techniques of acting? If you like to give some advice, please give. I will be grateful to you. Okay, well, thank you. As I said, first of all, this is a very interesting question, and I'm sure a lot of you guys will appreciate we talking about this. So, first of all, the one adjective which I love about this question is hardworking. That is fundamental, and it's a great place to start. There's way too many people who kind of think that acting is about luck, is about who you know, it's about, being discovered all of a chance, that's not it. It's hard work, guys. Hard work. Think of it like, I don't know, playing the guitar, like at a really high level. So you wouldn't just pick up the guitar and pretend to be, and expect to be picked up by Aerosmith to be their new player, would you? No. You need to practice and practice and practice and practice and practice and learn all the techniques and then, become a professional and then. So it's a long way. And I completely understand your question, your word, like, can I do it without a drama class? Because it's a shame if you can't afford it. That it does make it harder. I'm not gonna lie to you, it is harder if you if you can't go to a drama school. That being said, it's not impossible. There are many different things you can do and you can learn. But as I said, first of all, I wanted to point out this. It's not going to be easy. There's no, magic wand that can make you a great actor. I would also like to point out one thing. You talked about Brando, Pacino, De Niro, and so many more, and those are the greats. And of course, we all aspire to be the greats, and that's fantastic as long as we're talking about skills, as long as we're talking about level of acting. I personally think there are a lot of actors who are just as good, if not even better, than Pacino, De Niro, Brando, and all those, but who are not as famous. So let's not confuse famous with good, okay? Those are two very different things. So I think you mean you want to become a great actor, so a really good actor in that. And I do believe that it is possible to make a living with acting and to have a great career with acting, even though you might never become as famous as Pacino, Brando, De Niro, and all those. And this is, I think, guys, this is fundamental to understand and to be honest with yourselves about why you want to do this. I see so many actors getting into it for the wrong reasons. They get into it because they want the red carpet, they want the flashes of the media, they want their face on TV all the time. That might literally never happen. And that's not a bad thing. Okay, that's, the bottom line is, if you love acting, you can absolutely make a living with it. It's going to be hard, not an easy living. It's not. Probably never going to be swimming in money, because that's the truth. But if you love it, if you really love it, you can make a living from this. If you're happy with that, if you feel that, the idea of not being able to act, not being able to do this would make you feel like you're choking, it's choking the life out of you, you have this need to do it, then do it. Just doing it, being able to live, to sustain your life by doing something you love, that is great, and I'm sure you can all do this. if you want to become famous, I would recommend do something else. You can go and sleep with someone who was on the Big Brother or something. Like it's not the same thing. It's really not the same thing. Okay. So I think luck and boon means the other one, because he said, you know, he's a hardworking guy. How can a hardworking guy become a great actor without training? So let's talk about this. What does training mean? There is an advantage to going to drama school. I went to drama school here in the UK. There's an advantage, which is if it's well done, because that also depends on where you go and whatever, but if it is well done, a well thought out course, you'll have the time, you have 3 years or even just 1 year, you know, however long the course is, the teachers will take you through a journey that should gradually allow you to get better and better and better and learn more and more skills organically. If you don't have that, you can go to many different workshops and trying to put all the different skills together. If you also can't do the workshops, you can still learn, you can still practice. It's just a lot harder. At the same time, you know, nowadays we have internet, we have access to lots of different sources of information, so there are chances. So let's talk about it. What does it mean to become an actor? What are the things we need to do and to learn? So I believe, first of all, if we talk about just acting, okay, there's one process which is very important when you're starting out, when you start your training. That process is to face and break down your barriers. What does that mean? We all have some emotional and sometimes psychological barriers that we erected throughout our lives to protect ourselves. We usually, depending on culture, depending on whatever, usually we don't like to show, for example, vulnerability to just anybody. You know, we might show vulnerability maybe with our parents or with someone we love or we trust, but we don't show our vulnerability to our boss at work. So even if something really hurts us, we tend to sort of hide it. We tend to pretend that everything is okay. That means if we need to portray a character that is showing strong vulnerability, that's difficult. It's difficult because we're so used to closing ourselves off. So part of the process is to identify and break down, or if not break, that's a bit violent, you know, get used to taking down these barriers, okay, when we want to, so that we can access certain emotions, so that we can show certain emotions, or at least create the illusion that we're feeling certain emotions, so that the audience can believe that the character is going through those emotions, okay? I made the example of vulnerability because that's one of the most common ones, but it depends. It can be anything. I've met actors who had a problem with anger, with showing themselves angry, that they just couldn't do it. Others who had trouble with sexuality. And I'm not talking about shooting a porn movie or whatever. No, I'm just talking about showing yourself as sexual. So seducing someone, pretending, obviously, playing a scene where you're seducing someone. And they just got really rigid in their physicality, that it just didn't look right. And part of it was because they had a barrier in their head, in their heart, that blocked them. They just felt ashamed to do that. So I think a big part of your training should be identifying what barriers you have and tackle them one by one, slowly, finding different ways to access emotionality, different ways to learn how to use your physicality, and all these different things. Now, you might ask, how do I do this? And now we can get to your second question, which is, tell me all the methods. So there are many acting methods out there. The great division, there's two main approaches, let's say, is inside out or outside in. Inside out, what does that mean? Let's go from the inside out first. Inside Out is what we call method acting, with all the different variations, okay? This was first started by Stanislavski in Russia and was then taken especially by Lee Strasberg, that made it famous in America, but there's also many others who identify or branched out into their own methods, kind of starting from Stanislavski, okay? The general approach is that in order to create a performance that that you bring about a certain emotion, you need to start from inside. So from, for example, memories. They do this thing called the sense memory, where you sort of train yourself to go back mentally to some episodes of your own life when you felt a certain emotion. And you train yourself to do that to the point that at the drop of a hat, you can just go back there and bring about all those emotions. This is very roughly, okay? As I said, there are many different methods, many different things, okay? But roughly, that's one of the ideas, okay? A similar method, which doesn't use memories but uses imagination, okay, is still Inside Out. So if I need to, again, portray a anger or emotionality or whatever, I imagine myself, I train myself to have this very strong imagination. So I imagine myself in a situation that would make me angry, for example. I let that affect me, and then when I'm ready, I start to play the scene, and I'm angry. So they're kind of similar. I'm not a fan of the first, because for me, using real life, especially painful memories, usually this is mostly used for painful stuff, not for happy thoughts. It can be, and they do, but they're most famous for the big breakdowns or whatever. I'm not a massive fan. I think in life we are meant to overcome the bad things that happen to us, so training ourselves to always go back to those is not healthy. It's literally not healthy. Every so often you do hear about, actors having mental breakdowns and even killing themselves, and not always, but several of those, especially the most famous ones, were method actors. And I do believe this particular method has its risks. I don't think the results are any better. It's just a matter of what works for you. So I really hope you do not need to use your own actual memories. I hope you can find something which is healthier to achieve the same result, which you totally can, okay? Imagination can be a big other one. As I said, you don't need to actually think about something that happened to you. You can just imagine yourself in a different situation. Again, these are not things you just at a drop of a hat, okay, I'll do it now. No, you need to train yourself how to do that, okay? I can't go into all of these methods. First of all, I'm not an expert. I've done some things. You can find books online. You can find courses online. You can find YouTube videos that explain the exercises and this kind of stuff. So if you don't have the possibility to afford to go to classes, you can still find the information, the type of exercises that you can do, and some of these you can do on your own. Some of these you'll need friends. So find out a group of friends who want to be actors just like you, and that you can get together and try these things out. Okay, experiment, see how it goes. Okay, so these are the inside-out approaches. Then there are the outside-in approaches. The outside-in approach is the opposite. It says we create something outside, an external, sometimes a physical action or a physical thing we do, and we let that affect us and create the emotions we need. Now, this is something that actually Stanislavski, remember the guy that started method acting, actually came to at the end of his career. He started from memories and stuff, and then eventually he said, no, that stuff doesn't work, let's do this instead. He called it the method of physical actions. The idea is that if there's this exercise, which is you have actors in a room, and you tell them there's a bomb in this room, you have to find it. And what they should do is not to sit down and imagine that there's a bomb, is literally start looking. Start looking, start looking, more and more frantic, look everywhere. The act of frantically looking for something, even if consciously you know that it's not there, there's no bomb. But the very act of doing it, of running around looking for stuff, will put you in that emotionally heightened state that you need to then act the scene where, for example, you need to be very scared. And same thing, so that's, again, it's a way they train. So they train with certain ways to create physical triggers to create the emotions. I really like this. I've sort of made up my own way. I'm a very physical, I'm not an actor anymore, but not professionally. But I really like this. I've done this a lot. I created my own version of this, which is basically to find a way to recreate in my own body the physical sensations I have when, for example, I find this useful when I have to cry, so when I have to be very upset. And so I analyzed myself, and first thing was breathing, working a lot with breath. So if I start breathing up here, and I do it for quite a long time, I start to get a bit more emotional, okay? Again, it's something you need to train. It's not, and the important thing is you don't do it during the scene. You do it before. You do it before you get on stage, or before you get in front of the camera, before they call action. You use these things that create tension. For example, you need to play angry, like you literally tense up your abdominals, tense up your muscles, and create this sort of tension in your body, and again, let it affect you. The key to all of these things, no matter if it's inside in, outside in, inside out, or all of that, the key is to let yourself be affected by them. A lot of the time it's just ideas. It's just, you know. So you have these methods that are outside in. For example, Lecoq, French practitioner. Michael Chekhov has certain things which are outside in, which are very interesting. You can also argue that Meissner is an outside in, more or less. Meissner is very interesting and quite famous nowadays. His method relies upon the interaction with the other actors. So he's got this repetition exercise, which is, you know, you're in front of the other actor and you say something, say, "Hi, how are you?" And the other person says, "I'm good, thank you." "Hi, how are you?" "I'm good, thank you." "Hi, how are you?" And you say over and over and over and over and over again. And slowly this starts to change. The reason you do this, and again, it's about the training of this, people train for months, if not years, to do this, is that it breaks down, again, the conscious barriers. It just teaches you how to just react without thinking. It can be very good. I loved some of this. I've noticed some actors who get too much into it, they forget that there's also an audience involved, and there has to be an audience involved. Just quick thing, Stanislavski used to say that there are three main relationships that the actor has, which is the actor with himself, the actor with the other actors, and the actor with the audience. I would personally add a fourth one, which is the actor with his character, but whatever. The point is, methods that go inside out tend to focus a bit too much on the actor with himself. Meissner tends to focus a bit too much on the actor with the other actors. They all kind of tend to forget that at the end of the day, all of this is done for the audience. I'm not saying the good teachers don't forget this, okay? I'm just saying I've met many actors that were fully trained in these specific methods, and they tended to forget the audience, okay? So that's a bit of a danger to do. Which brings me to the last thing, and maybe the most important suggestion I can give you, which is join some amateur groups. Any kind of, like, I don't know how it works in India. Here in the UK, there's loads of amateur groups that you can join, and, you know, you don't have to usually audition for them, or at least you do a little bit of an audition or something. Join amateur groups, join any kind of acting experience you might get. Student films, apply to be an actor in student films. It might not be paid, but they might cover your expenses. Or even if you need to cover your own expenses, it'll still be cheaper than a drama class. I would recommend more doing stage than camera, to be honest, because stage is more the basis of acting, and if you get enough experience on stage, you really learn how to feel the audience and how to get, to create an interaction with the audience. You could also try stand-up comedy, although it is quite different. It does teach you certain things, but it is quite different. So the main thing I would say is this is, so what I would recommend overall is this. Get yourself some books. Get yourself some books by Stanislavski, by Meissner. There's Dalla is another one, Jacques Lecoq. Get their books one at a time. You don't need to get them all at once. Read them, do the exercises they recommend. Get a group of friends, group of people that you can act with, that have the same passion as you do, and go through the exercises together. Do them together, give each other feedback. Join amateur dramatics or any kind of acting experience that you can get your hands on. Extras work, I wouldn't really recommend. It does teach you, being a supporting artist, so an extra in a big movie, it teaches you about how does it really work to make a movie, but it doesn't really give you the chance to actually act and get that relationship with the audience going, because an extra is supposed to be invisible. So I wouldn't recommend that as part of your training very much. I would say do any kind of stage work you can get your hands on, the more the better. And just to get to your last question, how can I master all the techniques of acting? You don't need to. Find something that works for you. Try everything, absolutely try everything, try many different things, but ultimately you don't have to master everything. You need to find your own way of doing things, and this is very important. And I know it's a bit weird to say, oh, I don't have to master anything. You need to be able to deliver, and deliver means taking the audience through an emotional journey with your character. That's your job as an actor. And once you learn how to do that, once you manage to do that consistently, you're an actor. Okay, you don't have to have any specific method. Okay, so don't feel like, oh my God, I've identified 30 different methods. There's hundreds, literally. How can I do each single one of them? You don't have to. You need to find things that work, and remember to always judge it. Always give it a go. Give it a full go. Even if something doesn't convince you, really try it. Try it as much as you can. And then figure out maybe 10% of this one practitioner, so Stanislavski, for example, 10% of the exercises he gives are useful for you. Fine. Great. Take that 10% and then try the next one. Try Meissner and see how much you get from that one. But as I said, the main thing is practice, is experience. Act as much as you can, and I'm afraid that you can't do on your own. Find a group of friends, find an amateur group. If you don't have an amateur dramatic group around you, get some friends together, get yourself a play. You can find them online, and put it on. Put on a play. I'm not saying, in a big venue or whatever, in your own backyard. And invite your mother and your friend's parents to it. I know it's embarrassing. I know it's tough, but it's the only way you can learn. You only learn acting by acting. Not entirely true. There are things you can do, but most of it that's the case. Okay. Now, if you are interested in then screen acting, that's a slightly different thing. But it's something that you need to worry about later. First, you need to learn how to act. then you learn how to adapt your acting for the camera. If you're interested, I am preparing an online screen acting course, and because we're in lockdown for COVID-19, I am actually making it in a way that people can do it on their own. But at the same time, as I said, that I just teach you that how to adapt your acting for the camera. There's an analogy that I always like to say, which is this. Imagine that learning how to act has three components, like a bow and arrow and the tip of the arrow. So if you want to be effective, okay, you have the bow, which is your overall training. You have the arrow, which is the specific preparation you do on that specific character that you're working on. And then you have the tip of the arrow, which are the specific techniques that allow you to be effective on camera. If you only have the bow and the arrow but not the tip of the arrow, you're not very effective. If you only have the tip of the arrow, sure, you're a tiny bit effective if it's sharp, but not that much. What you need is all three. So build your bow first, then build your arrow, and then put the tip at the end. I hope this was useful. I know that, there's so much to be said about this, and I can't get into details of any one specific method. Last thing I would like to say is simply this. If you love it, just go for it. Just do it. But make sure you actually love the process. If you don't have this need to just memorize lines and then try different acting exercises and getting in front of an audience and performing and really learning more and more and more about this, if you don't have that real need to do this, even thinking I'm never gonna be famous, ever, but you still need to do it, then go for it and do it. If you're doing it because you're obsessing about I need to be famous, I need people to see me, to know my name, then I would say just leave it. There's no point. Sorry, I don't mean to be a downer, but I really think that's the bottom line, because chances are you're not going to be famous. But it doesn't matter. You can be an actor, and you can be a great actor if you want it and if you work hard enough. And remember, if you enjoy it, it will not be hard work. It'll be a lot of fun. So thank you very much. I hope you found this useful. Please do leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. And if you guys have any other questions or any other topics you'd like me to talk about, again, leave a comment down below. And don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when I post a new one of these. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.